I am 22 years old and I have recently graduated from college. I landed a job at my high school as a computer intern, working in the school basement. The basement is quite messy and disorganized, but there's a small office for 3 people that is actually very nice. It has 3 spacious desks, 2 mini fridges, and a flat screen TV mounted on the wall, and refreshing air conditioning, a luxury that students and teachers in the school do not have access to. Additionally, all the school servers and other computer equipment are located in the office. I was able to secure this job because 3 of my former computer teachers really liked me and supported me. I consider them as real friends rather than just teachers, and their help was instrumental in me getting this job. Everything was going well until a few weeks ago and something unsettling happened. My 2 office mates, Dave and Gary, were not in the office with me at that time as they were upstairs working on paperwork. I was having my lunch break and eating a sandwich when I received a phone call from a woman in the front office. She informed me that the school was on lockdown because someone potentially armed had entered the premises. With limited options, I turned off the lights in the office. Surprisingly, despite the office being nice, it didn't have an actual door, just a large opening. Additionally, the door to the basement didn't have a functioning lock. For my safety, I turned off all the lights in the office and my computer screen. I left my phone on the desk and tried to contact Gary and Dave by text, but they didn't respond. I sat in the dark playing games on my phone for about 20 minutes, waiting for signal from the front office to resume working. I was completely unaware of what was going on. I couldn't hear anything happening upstairs from where I was downstairs. I wasn't allowed to make any calls until I was told that the lockdown was over. Suddenly, the loud basement door opened and the cracking sound echoed through the basement and into my office. I sat up in my seat, debating whether to call out for Gary and Dave to get some information from them. Then I heard someone running down the stairs, their footsteps getting closer to my office. I quickly pushed my chair away and crawled under my desk. Someone entered the office but didn't turn on the lights. The room fell into silence, and I can't even begin to describe the fear that gripped me. I was so terrified that I believed any sudden noise would lead to danger. Suddenly, my phone made a notification sound as it received text message. At that moment, I felt like my entire world was collapsing around me. I clenched my teeth in fear as I heard footsteps approaching closer to me. Eventually, I mustered the courage to come out from under the desk, surrendering and pleading with whomever it was not to harm me. Just then, a man in red plaid shirt, jeans, and cap approached me. He reassured me, saying he was hiding with me and asked about the situation upstairs. I whispered to him, asking what was happening, but he seemed more focused on finding an exit downstairs. I informed him that there was an exit in that direction. Before he could do anything else, I asked him, "Who are you?" There was a short pause before he began to explain that he was there to pick up his son. He mentioned that a teacher told him to hide. After his explanation, I checked my phone and saw a text from Dave. The message said, "Dude, this is crazy. Some guy with a gun shot Mr. Buckley. He's wearing a red shirt and a hat. Whatever you do, don't come upstairs." As I was about to read the text to the man, I suddenly looked up and felt a sinking feeling in my stomach. The man seemed to notice my suspicious gaze, and in a panic, all I could think to do was run upstairs. A gunshot rang out of the basement, and I heard the bullet hit something metallic in the darkness. Thankfully, the bullet missed me, and I managed to make it upstairs. Luckily, the police were waiting at all the exits, including the basement, and they apprehended the man as soon as he opened the door. More good news came out when we found out that our teacher, Mr. Buckley, survived the gunshot. It was later discovered that there was some unresolved issue between the man and Mr. Buckley, although the exact reason was never relieved. All we know was that Mr. Buckley didn't deserve such a violent reaction. The sound of the gunshot will always haunt me. It was a regular and dull day in math class, but since it was Friday during the last period, everyone was excited because the school week was almost over and the spring break was coming up. People were feeling restless in their seats. Unlike some of my friends in other classes, we didn't have a test that day. Our teacher, who was pretty relaxed, suddenly decided to play games with us using a website called Sparkle. We were doing a quiz about brand logos when something memorable happened right after my friend answered a question. I remember the moment when the answer to Adidas was given, and suddenly the dean's voice came over the loudspeaker. He sounded panicked and arrogant as he announced that it was not a drill and instructed all teachers to go into lockdown. I felt a chill run down my spine and goosebumps appeared on my arms. Even our usually calm teacher seemed alarmed as he quickly turned off the lights and directed us to the back corner of the room. We sat in silence for a couple of minutes until the buzzing noise from a panel in the back of the room stopped, indicating that the school had cut off all power. We exchanged worried looks, realizing the seriousness of the situation. After a few more minutes of tense waiting, we heard the man screaming loudly as he approached our classroom. Two girls in class started crying, which heightened our fear. The man, sounding deranged, began banging on the lockers and threatening to harm us. At that point, I began to feel scared for my safety. Our teacher signaled for us to be quiet as we all exchanged worried glances. The loud banging noise shifted from lockers to our classroom door. One of the girls in the class started crying and screamed, "No," when the man outside yelled for us to open up. The banging on the door intensified as the man kept shouting. The two girls in the class were now crying loudly. It felt like a long time that the man was pounding on the door, but eventually he moved on down the hallways, screaming like someone who was mentally unstable until we couldn't hear him anymore. About 10 minutes later, although it felt much longer given the tense situation, the dean came out the loudspeaker to explain what was happening. It was surprising for him to do so. He informed us that an individual who seemed mentally unstable had entered the building and assaulted a woman at the front desk, causing her to run out of the building screaming. The staff was unsure if the man was armed. At that time, the school didn't have security cameras or proper security measures in place, making it vulnerable to such incidents. The staff had searched all the hallways and classrooms but couldn't find the man. The dean then instructed the teachers to continue teaching, but to keep all doors locked and not allow any students to leave for any reason. The most unsettling part of the incident was when one of the janitors working the night shift discovered the man sleeping in the storage closet at the back of the school. Rumors circulated among my peers that the man had a 44 Magnum sticking out of his pocket. The janitor may have unintentionally disturbed him, perhaps by leaving the closet door open. By the time a police officer arrived, the man had disappeared. To this day, my entire class, to the best of my knowledge, does not know if the man was ever found. I like to believe the man is receiving the necessary help and the support he needs. My school has two lunch periods. The first lunch period is for all 6th graders and some 7th graders, while the second lunch period is for the rest of 7th graders and all 8th graders. The lockdown took place at the start of October. On the day of lockdown, the weather was gloomy and rainy. During the first lunch period, I heard the loud booms. I initially thought it was a thunder, but everyone in the lunch crowd started screaming. I initially thought the situation was serious when campus security arrived and instructed everyone to go to the multi-purpose room. The students were in a line to buy lunch, had discarded their food and joined us inside. My friends and I followed the crowd into the room along with many other students. There was a sense of curiosity among everyone about what was going on. Our multi-purpose room is quite large, with a back wall made of see-through glass. When we were hurried inside, the campus security quickly covered the glass with curtains, and there were adults stationed at every exit. My friend Eric, along with the rest of us, was curious about what was happening. He asked one of the adults for information, and when he returned, he explained that there was a mentally disabled man causing trouble in front of houses near TMS. The man had barricaded himself and was threatening to harm himself and the police if they tried to remove him. He had been acting strangely outside the school, especially toward the children. Eric informed us that the man was also registered a sex offender, which made the situation even more concerning. We ended up being stuck in a multi-purpose room for an entire hour, which took up 2 class periods until the situation was resolved. We were taken to our classrooms individually. Later, I learned that the man lived next to my friend Brandy. She shared with me a disturbing story about the previous Halloween when she saw the man at his window, calling his arm and writing a threatening message in his own blood. Don't come here or I kill you. At the time, people, including Brandy, thought it was just a Halloween prank. However, after the recent terrifying events, he realized that this man had mental health issues, and we were relieved that he never came close to us.